Ladies and gentlemen, let me talk to you for a moment. Not from a mountaintop, but from the valley, where most of life's lessons are truly learned. There will be moments when fear comes knocking. You won't always see it coming. It might show up in the form of failure, rejection, confusion, or silence. But let me tell you something, fear is not your enemy. Fear is a signal. It tells you that something is bigger than you. And when something is bigger than you, that's when you lean into something greater than you. Trusting God doesn't mean you won't feel fear. It means you won't be led by it. See, many people think faith is the absence of fear. That's not true. Faith is moving forward even when fear is present, because you know who holds the outcome. When fear says you can't, trusting God says, I already have. When fear says you're alone, trusting God whispers, I've been with you every step. And when fear says, or what if you fail? Faith responds, what if this is a foundation for something greater? Faith is not the absence of fear, but the choice to trust God in the presence of it. That's a truth many people wrestle with because we've been taught to believe that if we're truly faithful, truly spiritual, truly grounded, we shouldn't feel fear. But that's not how life works. Even the strongest among us, even the most prayerful, even the most grounded individuals experience fear. The difference is not in whether fear appears, it's in how we respond to it. Fear is a natural human emotion. It's a signal that we are stepping into something unknown, unfamiliar, or potentially painful. That's not weakness, that's reality. But faith steps in not to eliminate fear, but to stand beside it and say, we're going forward anyway. Faith is not denial, it is defiance. It doesn't pretend the storm isn't there. It says, I know the storm is raging, but I trust the one who calms it. Trusting God in the presence of fear is a daily decision. It's waking up and choosing to believe that even if the day ahead is uncertain, even if your plans don't go the way you hoped, God is still in control. It's sitting in the doctor's office waiting for a report, or staring at a pile of unpaid bills, or feeling the ache of loss and still whispering, God, I don't know how, but I trust you. Look at the greatest stories of courage and triumph, and you will see fear in the background of all of them. Fear was present when David faced Goliath. Fear was real when Moses stood before Pharaoh. Fear was alive when Esther approached the king. And yet, in each case, trust in God overpowered the fear. That's what made the difference. Not that they didn't feel fear, but that they didn't let it decide the outcome. You see, when you trust God, you give fear a boundary. You tell it you can show up, but you don't get to drive. Fear may walk beside you, but it doesn't get to lead you. It may whisper lies, but you choose to believe the truth. And the truth is that God has not given you a spirit of fear, but of power, of love, and of a sound mind. When fear tells you that you're not enough, faith reminds you that God is more than enough. When fear says the mountain is too high, trust in God says, with faith the size of a mustard seed, this mountain can move. And when fear tries to paralyze you, faith gives you motion, even if it's just one small step at a time. Faith doesn't always come with fireworks or a shout. Sometimes it comes in the form of a quiet, steady resolve. Sometimes it's just the courage to get up, to keep going, to try again. It's in the ordinary decisions, how you speak to yourself, how you treat others, how you pray through pain. And in all of that, the presence of fear becomes less intimidating because you're anchored in something deeper, trust in the unchanging character of God. So don't beat yourself up for feeling afraid. Don't disqualify yourself because fear showed up. Instead, let it be the reminder that something important is happening. Something is shifting. And in that moment, choose to trust. Not because the road is easy, but because God is faithful. Not because the outcome is guaranteed, but because His presence is. Faith is not pretending the lion's den isn't real. It's walking and knowing that God shuts mouth. And that's the power of trusting Him when fear tries to rise. God's plan often unfolds in uncertainty. Trust is the bridge between fear and fulfillment. This is one of the most powerful yet challenging truths to embrace in life. We live in a world that celebrates clarity, control, and certainty. We want answers. We want details. We want to know how everything will work out before we take the first step. But that's not how God typically works. He doesn't hand us a blueprint with all the instructions up front. He gives us a promise, a word, a direction. And then He calls us to walk by faith, not by sight. When you're in the middle of uncertainty, It can feel like you're walking through fog. You can't see the full path, and that alone can bring fear. It's natural to feel anxious when you don't know what's coming next. But it's in that very space, when the answers are unclear, when the outcome is uncertain, that trust is born. Not just a passive hope, but an active living trust. Trust that says, even when I can't see it, I believe God is working. You have to understand something. Uncertainty doesn't mean God is absent. It often means He's preparing something greater than you can see. The delay, the detour, the disruption, none of it is wasted. In fact, it's in those uncertain moments that God does His deepest work in us. Because in the absence of clarity, we learn dependence. We learn to lean not on our own understanding, but on Him. Trust becomes the bridge that carries you from the tension of fear to the fulfillment of purpose. Without trust, fear becomes a wall. It traps you. It paralyzes you. But with trust, that same fear becomes a signal to look upward, to move forward, to hold tighter to God's promises. You don't have to know how God will do it. You just have to trust that He will. That's what walking by faith means. It means moving when the path isn't lit all the way. It means saying yes when the outcome isn't guaranteed. It means believing that what's ahead is worth it because He's the one leading. Think about the people who saw God move in incredible ways. Abraham was told to go to a land he'd never seen. He didn't get a GPS or a timeline. He got a promise, and he trusted. Joseph spent years in prison for something he didn't do. He didn't see the palace coming, but he trusted. Mary, a young woman, was told she would carry the Son of God, and though the road ahead was full of uncertainty, she said, "Let it be to me as you have said." That is trust. That is how fulfillment comes, through faith that steps out even when fear is close behind. Uncertainty will test you. It will stretch your patience, your confidence, even your belief. But it also reveals what you're anchored in. If your trust is in circumstances, it will waver. But if your trust is in God, it will hold steady, even in the storm. Because He doesn't change. His character is constant. And His timing, though not always ours, is always right. So when life feels unclear, when the plan doesn't make sense, when fear rises in the face of the unknown, remember, you're not lost. You're in process. You're on the bridge. And that bridge, if walked in trust, leads to the very thing God promised. Don't let the fog fool you. Fulfillment is still on the other side. Keep walking. Keep trusting. God's plan is unfolding even now. In conclusion, fear may come and uncertainty may cloud your path, but they are not the end of your story. They are simply part of the journey that builds your faith and shapes your trust. Trusting God doesn't mean you'll always feel confident. It means you choose to believe even when you don't. It means you walk forward when standing still feels safer. And it means you keep your eyes on the one who sees the whole picture when all you can see is the next step. Let fear be the signal, not the stop sign. Let uncertainty be the space where trust grows deep. And let your faith in God be the bridge that carries you to everything He's promised. Keep trusting even when it's hard. Because God is not just writing your story, He's walking with you through every chapter.